The price of the items that you shop for could start to change within the time you're even browsing online or walking through the store aisles. It's called dynamic pricing, and some wonder if this could lead to higher prices in the end. Bankrate senior economic analyst Mark Hamrick is back with us to talk about dynamic pricing and if this could start happening at a store or an online site that you're using near you. So Mark, for those who might not know, could you briefly explain how this all works?
Yeah, good to be with you, Lindsay. We think about the fact that there's been a long history with prices that are associated with price tags. And in the past, think about the old times in grocery stores where they were going around the grocery store with a thing that was sort of like a gun that printed the price tag on a can of soup or whatever it might be. And that evolved over the years to the prices being on the store shelves. And so with dynamic pricing, in the electronic and high technology world we live in, those prices are moving more often than they used to. And we see it, present all the time on areas like Amazon.com. With those of us who use ride shares like Lyft and Uber, those prices, you have to go on to the app to see what the prices are going to be. And airline fares are another big example of that. So the pricing world, we can say, has evolved. There are some opportunities and there are also many risks for consumers in this space.
Does it take advantage of the consumers?
Well, it can, but what I want to say about this is a consumer very often has the final say in determining whether they want to be a purchaser of a service or a product. Where you get into problems is where there is illegal activity, and that has happened. But what I would say ultimately is this can also work to our benefit because dynamic pricing means that prices can adjust accordingly to demand and competition. So what's a situation where you could take advantage of that? Where there's less demand for airline fares, for example, during a certain time of year or even a time of the week. And I can tell you my wife and I took advantage of that by going to a place in the last few months that was not in high demand for the time of year. Dynamic pricing helped in our favor. Where it's horrible is if you were out late at night on a Saturday somewhere, wanted to get a ride share, there's much more demand for the ride share than there are cars available, and then people have to answer the question, well, are they going to pay 30, 40, 50 bucks for a ride late at night? So it can work both ways.
Got it. And certain apps, they use the algorithms to use outside factors to decide this prices. That is legal, but if an algorithm maybe concludes with others in an area to decide prices, is that illegal?
Collusion really is the question. And so, I would say, first of all, think about the world we live in. It's typically the case that lawmakers, and, we know where they are, as well as regulators, those who are not elected officials, are usually behind the curve in responding to challenges. And the challenges emerge quickly, especially with technology. So regulation in this space is a work in progress. There's more work to do. But violation of antitrust, illegal price fixing or price gouging. Price gouging does tend to be more regulated at the state level. And I would say for consumers out there, if you think you have been ripped off, think about turning to your consumer regulators. That could be in the county, in the city, in the state, and they exist at the federal level as well.
Any apps real quick or tools we can use to track prices, make sure we're not getting taken advantage of?
I would just say, we live in an information-rich society. Unfortunately, it's also a disinformation-rich society. Shop online to see what the prices are available out there. But I think the most important takeaway here is to try to make it work in your favor. Get the discounts you can get because it's not just the prices change, but the discounts change. And remember, they want your personal information so they can try to learn more about you, how much you're shopping with a given company, how much money you make, and they have all kinds of records behind the scenes that, believe me, we don't know about.
Oh my. All right. Well, always something to pay attention to. As consumers, we need to be educated. Thank you so much for taking the time to help us out.
Thank you, Lindsay.